The day has finally arrived. Now that it's been a while since the new Superman movie premiered, it's time to talk about it. I literally just got back from the theater as I'm writing this. If you've seen it and are still enthralled, or if you haven't seen it yet but don't mind about spoilers, you can continue in the video. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend adding it to your Watch Later playlist to avoid spoiling your experience. In this video, we'll cover everything, so there will obviously be spoilers. Subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Take the opportunity to suggest the theme for the next video below in the comments. I know, my friends. Another Superman, another reboot. I was a bit hesitant at first, I confess. When the behind-the-scenes photos from the shoot came out, I also thought it was pretty weak. But I'm glad I was wrong. That's where the magic of cinema in post-production makes all the difference. James Gunn knows how to work it. This guy really knows how to make a movie. To begin with, the film wasn't cheap, we have to admit. The film reportedly cost $225 million to produce. So far, so good. Many blockbusters exceed $200 million in budget. In fact, it's quite common to spend $150 or $200 million on a film. But a film isn't just released with the film itself. There's a whole marketing effort involved to promote the film's message before and during its theatrical run. Some pretty wild estimates suggest the film may have cost as much as $363 million, which is a bit much to believe. James Gunn himself denied this rumor, but even parrots can talk. The truth is, if this film cost that much to make, it's going to be very difficult to break even. At the time I watched it, the film had grossed over $200 million worldwide. But that doesn't mean it's already broken even. We have to remember that films of this type need to gross at least twice what they cost to release. This is because approximately half of the box office revenue goes to translation and dubbing studios, theaters, and other expenses. So, in practice, if the film cost $200, it needs to make at least $400 or $500, that's simple math. Anything above that is a profit. Right now, the film hasn't broken even yet. But that doesn't mean anything, as the film was released only a week ago. If it grossed that much in its first week, it's projected to pay for itself and even turn a generous profit. Obviously, it's difficult to break the billion mark, as some Disney and Marvel productions do, but nothing is impossible. I don't know how long it will be released worldwide, but the world is very big, and there's still plenty of time. Regardless of the box office results, Superman is already a critical and commercial success. It seems James Gunn has a knack for blockbuster films. We're talking about the guy who produced Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Scooby-Doo, Peacemaker, and now Superman. He's on a hot streak of blockbuster films, which doesn't seem temporary. He's the one who turned the Guardians of the Galaxy from nothing to one of the most important teams in Marvel Studios' early days. He's the kind of guy who takes a character as they truly are and adapts them faithfully. And with Superman, it couldn't be any different. When we think of Superman, we think of the Boy Scout, stronger than a locomotive but faster than a speeding bullet, while also facing human problems like everyone else, like relationships, work, and taking care of his dog. Oh, and about the dog, we'll talk about him a little later. And that's exactly what James Gunn captured in the new Superman. Those from the Snyder generation, accustomed to the somewhat dark color palette and depressive tone of the last Superman, might find this new one strange. He's colorful, unafraid to be colorful, full of hope, and yet incredibly imposing. Those accustomed to Snyder's aura-building Superman might find it a bit silly, but this Superman is incredibly faithful to the character. Not that Snyder's isn't, but the main DC universe isn't supposed to be dark. This might work for alternate worlds, but the main one needs to be the base version of the character. These are very different visions, as it's obvious he'd be compared to the Superman from Snyder's films. Don't get me wrong, I really liked the DC universe created by Zack Snyder. I really did. I rooted for him. I was sad when Henry Cavill was fired. That's a story for another time. But now that I think we've overcome the Snyderverse grief, it's time to move on. A lot of people turned up their noses before even seeing the new film. Obviously, that's immature. You could only say it was bad after you'd seen the film. The problem with that is that you can't see this film and say it's bad. Because it's not. After seeing this movie, I don't even remember who Henry Cavill is anymore. Just kidding, the Snyderverse will always have a place in my heart, but nothing lasts forever. The Man of Tomorrow's name is David Corenswet. Honestly, I didn't think much of this Superman when the leaked photos from the set came out. But then we remember that the magic of superhero movies isn't just in the recording. Despite not farming aura, this Superman is extremely strong. Considering he's so early in his career, he's bound to get even stronger. Throughout the film, he gets beaten like hell, but every Superman gets beaten up. The only things that really hurt him during the film are Ultraman and Kryptonite. How that happens is what we'll get to later. Ultraman was no secret. Since he wears a mask, it was obvious that revealing his face would be the film's plot twist. Everyone was expecting it. From the beginning of the film, he was commanded by Lex, who used his strength as a trump card to rival Superman. Anyone familiar with Superman's stories already knew who Ultraman was from the beginning. But even so, the film makes a point of hiding it from the more casual audience, using it as the shocking reveal of the final fight. During the fight between Superman and Ultraman, the mask rips and his face appears. The plot twist is that Ultraman is a clone of Superman, only with an intellectual disability. He has Superman's strength and powers, but not Superman's intelligence. That's why Lex needed to be in command at all times, as the clone wouldn't stand a chance against the original under normal circumstances. It's a rather cliché narrative device, in which the protagonist discovers that the villain was himself, only different. Narratively, this represents the hero's internal struggle against himself, as if he were his greatest enemy. It's not the first time this has been used, and it won't be the last. But if it works, it's worth it. The Superman in this film, despite getting beaten up a lot, also hits hard and has great strength and agility. The way he easily destroys Lex's entire army shows how strong he is. Indeed, his biggest obstacle was Ultraman. Let's face it, if you fought yourself, you might win, but you'd also get beaten up a lot. Since Superman had Krypto's help, that kind of gave him an advantage. Plus, Ultraman wasn't in his right mind. Losing to him after disconnecting Lex would be humiliating. But this is a Superman movie, so it's obvious he defeats his clone. Ultraman literally fell into a black hole at the end of the film. It's quite possible he survived, even if he was badly injured. If he returns, it will probably be as Bizarro, the dumb and weird Superman clone gone wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, and probably won't be the last time this happens to Superman clones. Honestly, I'd say it's even predictable. As for Kryptonite, it was synthesized by Metamorpho. He can create any element with his body, including Kryptonite. But along the way, he betrays Lex and helps Superman. He didn't even want to hurt Superman, but Lex forced him. That's what Lex does, he uses the people you love to force you to do what he wants if he can't control you. Lex is smart. He knows that Superman's greatest weakness is the safety of others. He constantly exploits this to unbalance the confrontation. The good part is that Lex doesn't yet know Superman's secret identity, which gives Superman an advantage. Unfortunately, Lex still manages to do a lot of damage before being definitively defeated. Lex Luthor in this film is one of the best crafted. He's genuinely jealous of Superman simply for existing. He's truly cold and calculating, and he truly conveys the idea of being dangerous, even though he's just a guy without powers. I wouldn't say this is the best live-action Lex, because Michael Rosenbaum's Lex from Smallville was also one of the best portrayals of the character. Don't ask me to choose between them. The characterization of the future Justice League is also very good. Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl are incredibly faithful to their original versions. They even have the Hall of Justice building, a classic from the comics. I'd easily see a movie featuring this team. This team doesn't have a Batman yet, but it's possible to include one when he appears in this universe. By all indications, it will be a new Batman, made for this universe, not Robert Pattinson. But who knows what tomorrow will bring. The film's comic relief and sweetest moment was Krypto. He steals the show when he appears, even though we know it's not his movie. He's a disobedient, unruly dog with powers. A perfect combination for disaster. At the same time, he's important to the film's plot, as he's kidnapped by Lex and helps Superman defeat Lex's team. He's a super dog. That's it. Anyone who watched the classic Krypto cartoon will understand. But in this film, he doesn't speak, he literally acts like a dog, which is why he's so cool. The film doesn't offer anything significantly different from what we already know. Clark dates Lois, she knows he's Superman, she covers for him to defeat Lex in the news business, Jimmy Olsen helps Lois, everything is identical to the original. I'd say it even gives the feeling that you're already familiar with that universe, without ever having seen a single Superman film. But just by knowing the entire mythology behind the character beforehand, we already know the fixed elements. That's it, there's nothing to change. It's all the same, but it works. The way this dynamic is presented is what makes it work, and that's what matters. When it comes to fan service, it's obvious that James Gunn wouldn't disappoint. Besides Supergirl's appearance at the end, there are two other characters familiar to DC audiences, specifically from James Gunn's works. The first is Rick Flag, whom we saw in the animated series, Creature Commands, which is confirmed to be set in the same universe as Superman. The second is Peacemaker, who briefly appears giving a TV interview, demonstrating that he's also from this universe. How Rick Flag, Amanda Waller, and Peacemaker fit into this universe and the Snyderverse at the same time is a gap DC hasn't yet filled. We hope it's answered soon, as this has been a loose end since the Snyderverse reboot was announced. A reboot assumes that everything will be reset, not that characters, actors, and core characters will be retained. The film doesn't bother to tell an origin story. Everyone's already tired of that, doomed planet, Kryptonian parents, ship with baby, landing in Smallville, parents as farmers, and Superman raised. There's not much to deviate from the norm. The only thing they change in this story is a detail about Superman's biological parents. Before Krypton explodes, they send a message to their son, but the end of the recording was lost in the transmission through space. Lex manages to retrieve the end of the recording and exposes to everyone what not even Superman himself knew: his parents sent him to Earth to rule over humans and procreate, continuing the Kryptonian legacy. But the Kryptonians are already dead, so it doesn't matter what they wanted, what matters is what Superman decides to do, and he decides to be a hero. Of course, this affects him, but it doesn't change how he was raised by his farmhand parents and learned to be human. In some stories, this also happens, but it's less common. In most versions of Superman, the parents actually only send their son to save him from Krypton's destruction. Obviously, nothing prevents a retcon in future films, showing that Lex faked that part of the recording, even though the film confirms it was real. Honestly, I'd like that. A retcon on this would show Lex's genius and how he uses every resource at his disposal to get inside Superman's and other people's minds. Despite being a new film, it feels incredibly familiar. It's like we're rewatching a mix of the best basic Superman versions we know. Maybe it's because of so many reboots, but each new Superman has its own charm and is special in some way. And this was a great Superman, simply because it adapted what already works. He's classic, yet modern. He's colorful, yet serious. He's good-natured, yet knows how to fight seriously. If I had to criticize just one thing about the film, it would be the post-credits scenes. I don't know if it's because I'm from the MCU generation, but the post-credits scenes, in my opinion, left a lot to be desired. The film has two post-credits scenes. The first is just that scene of Superman and Krypto on the moon, which we'd already seen in promotional material. The second is a comic relief scene of Superman and Mr. Terrific looking at a cracked and crooked building. I may have been spoiled by Marvel, but I was hoping for something more meaningful, like an extra scene with Supergirl, Krypto, Lobo, Green Lantern, Peacemaker, or something hinting at the future of this new universe. It's not bad, but it feels incomplete. The film doesn't bother to build much anticipation for the future. Not to say there's absolutely no hint of a future, there's a scene at the end of the film where Supergirl arrives. She's Krypto's owner. She's in her rebellious teenage years, becoming an adult, so she goes out drinking on planets with red suns. This information is important, as it indicates that alcohol resistance is one of the powers of Kryptonians in this universe. And the film makes a point of explaining this quickly. So there you have it, a next film with Supergirl and, perhaps, Krypto. This is the future this universe has already planned. Subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Take the opportunity to suggest the theme for the next video below in the comments. See you in the next video.